In a world dominated by speed and noise, few remember the art of stillness. We move faster, speak louder, work longer, and yet feel more restless. The deeper we plunge into modern life, the further we drift from the quiet shores of inner peace. Our calendars are full, yet our hearts are empty. We chase connection, but forget presence. We accumulate, but rarely feel abundance. This paradox defines the modern era. The more we acquire, the less we feel whole. Amid all the advancements and opportunities, something sacred has been left behind, the inner quiet that nourishes the soul. But the East has long held a different compass. While the West pursued outward conquest, empires, machines, speed, the East nurtured inward journeys. In ancient forests, silent temples, and misty mountains, wisdom was cultivated not through competition, but through contemplation, not through domination, but through harmony. For thousands of years, sages from India, China, Japan, Vietnam, and beyond have whispered a wisdom not of conquest, but of return. Return to balance, return to breath, return to being. Their teachings remain not as relics in dusty texts, but as living torches passed hand to hand. From seeker to seeker, this is not the peace of escape, nor the quiet of resignation. It is a deep-rooted stillness, a calm not dependent on circumstances, but cultivated from within. It is a peace that can sit with pain, hold space for sorrow, and remain whole even when the world breaks around it. To understand this peace is to recognize that life is not a race to win, but a rhythm to follow. That silence is not emptiness, but fullness, waiting to be heard. That joy is not in the next thing, but in the fullness of the present moment. Let us walk slowly now, not to reach more, but to feel more. Let us sit beneath the same stars that watched over ancient monks and mendicants. Let us listen not just with our ears, but with our hearts. Let us uncover 5 timeless teachings from the East, gentle yet profound, that can help us return to ourselves and to peace. These teachings are not steps on a ladder to climb, but doors to open again and again. They are not rules but reminders, not doctrines but invitations. In the chapters that follow, we will explore each of these 5 pillars. Letting go, the beginning of peace. Stillness, the gateway to insight. Nature, our original teacher. Compassion, the seed of wholeness. Simplicity, the liberation of the soul. Together, they form a path not away from the world, but deeper into it. Whether you are new to these ideas or returning like a wanderer to an old home, may this journey offer you not only knowledge, but presence. Let the wisdom of the East remind us of the truth we carry within. You are not what you achieve. You are not what you own. You are not how fast you move. You are how deeply you see. You are how gently you walk. You are how sincerely you love. Welcome back to yourself. 1. Letting go, the beginning of peace. In Eastern philosophy, the art of letting go is not a passive surrender, but an active liberation. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of all suffering. Lao Tzu, in the Tao Te Ching, spoke of releasing the need to control as the beginning of wisdom. Letting go is not giving up, it is giving space. It is loosening the grip on that which tightens the soul. We live in a time of clinging. We cling to our identities, to our plans, to our image, to the approval of others. We hold on to expectations like shields and past wounds like anchors, and in doing so, we become crowded inside. To let go is to make room for new growth, for healing, for the mystery of the present. When we loosen our attachment to outcomes, we begin to trust the unfolding of life itself. Letting go can be practiced in small ways each day. Let go of the need to be right in every conversation. Let go of the belief that your worth is measured by your productivity. Let go of comparing your path to someone else's timeline. Let go of the story that says you must always be strong. In doing so, you will discover that peace was never far. It was simply waiting for space to enter. As Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, people have a hard time letting go of their suffering. Out of a fear of the unknown, they prefer suffering that is familiar. But when we begin to trust that what is meant for us will not pass us, and what is no longer for us must be released, we begin to breathe again. Letting go is a return not to nothing, but to openness, not to emptiness, but to possibility. It is not the end of caring. It is the beginning of caring more wisely, and it is the first step on the quiet path home. 2. Stillness, the gateway to insight. If letting go clears the soil, stillness is the water that allows wisdom to take root. In a world addicted to movement, silence feels foreign, but in the teachings of the East, it is within stillness that truth begins to speak. In Zen monasteries, monks sit in meditation, not to escape life, but to see it more clearly. They train the mind not to react, but to observe. They allow thought to pass like clouds across the sky, without chasing or resisting. In this still space, insight blooms. Stillness is not the absence of life. It is the quiet in which life can be truly heard. Busyness may impress, but it does not enlighten. Only when the surface settles can we see what lies beneath. Stillness is also a rebellion. In a world that equates movement with meaning, it is a gentle defiance that says, I will not rush past my own existence. To practice stillness is to begin each day with 5 minutes of silence, just listening to your breath. Pause before responding in conversation, allowing space for intention. Sit by a tree, a window, or a stream, doing nothing but being. Turn off the noise, even the inner chatter, and simply notice what remains in stillness. You may begin to hear the quiet voice of your own intuition, the truth beneath the story you've been telling yourself, the pulse of life itself steady and patient, calling you home. Stillness is not a retreat. It is a return to presence, a return to clarity, a return to the quiet center from which all wise action springs. In the words of the Tao Te Ching, to the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders. So let the world rush on if it must. You, however, may choose a different rhythm. One of breath, one of awareness, one of PU3. Nature, our original teacher. When the human world becomes too loud, too crowded, too fast, nature remains. The wind does not hurry. The moon does not complain. A tree does not wonder if it is enough, and yet all of these teach in silence what no book can explain how to be. Eastern wisdom has always looked to the natural world, not just for beauty, but for guidance. Taoism in particular is built upon the observation of nature. Lao Tzu writes of the river, how it flows low, how it nourishes all, how it overcomes hardness with softness. The Tao, the way, is not a doctrine, but a path observed in water. Rock, tree, and sky. In ancient Chinese and Japanese traditions, mountains are not mere geological formations. They are sages. Forests are not just timber. They are temples. To walk into nature is to walk into the original classroom of peace. The Buddha found enlightenment under a tree. Zen masters teach that even a single falling leaf is enough to awaken the mind if one is present. Nature teaches without speaking. A bamboo bends in the wind but does not break, teaching us resilience. The seasons come and go, reminding us that all things change. A flower blooms without asking to be seen, showing us the power of quiet unfolding. Why we must return to nature. In today's modern life, we live removed from nature. We live in boxes, stare at screens, and walk on pavement. We have forgotten the rhythm of the earth, and with it the rhythm of our own bodies and spirits. When we return to nature, even in small ways, we begin to remember. We remember how to breathe. We remember how to listen. We remember how to rest. Even a few minutes outdoors can soften anxiety and clear the mind. Studies now confirm what the ancients always knew: being near trees, water, or open sky reduces stress and enhances clarity. But beyond the science is the soul. A walk through the woods reminds us that we belong to something greater. Watching the waves reminds us that life comes in tides. Sitting beneath a tree reminds us that growth happens in stillness, and that shade is offered by those who stand tall and rooted. Practicing nature-based presence. Begin your morning with fresh air. Open a window. Step outside. Greet the sun. Visit a quiet, natural place once a week, even for 15 minutes. When in nature, put away the camera. Let your eyes become the witness. Walk barefoot on grass or earth. Let your body remember the ground. Study a plant, a rock, or a stream as if it were your teacher. Closing reflection. Nature asks for no payment, no schedule, no achievement. It only asks for presence, and in return, it gives us everything: peace, perspective, and the memory of who we are. Beneath the layers of noise. As the ancient poem Wosuo, sitting quietly, doing nothing. Spring comes and the grass grows by itself. In nature, we remember compassion, the seed of wholeness. Compassion is not merely an emotion. In the East, it is a deep way of being, a recognition of the shared suffering that weaves through all sentient life. To walk with compassion is to walk with open eyes and an open heart. It is to understand that beneath anger is pain, beneath pride is fear, and beneath every harsh word is a history of wounds not yet healed. The Buddha taught that compassion is the bridge between wisdom and action. It is what turns insight into healing and presence into peace. In Sanskrit, the word karuna means compassion, born from wisdom. It is not pity. It does not look down. It kneels beside Eastern masters have always seen compassion, not as a weakness, but as a strength, the courage to remain soft in a hard world, the bravery to feel when it is easier to close off. The inner work of compassion. Before it is extended outward, compassion must be cultivated inward. If you speak gently to others, but harshly to yourself, your compassion is incomplete. If you offer patience to friends, but not to your own struggles, your compassion is conditional. True compassion begins with self-acceptance. It says, I am allowed to be imperfect. My pain is valid. I am worthy of care even when I stumble. Eastern teachings remind us that the self is not separate from the whole. When we hold ourselves tenderly, we practice for how to hold the world, living compassion in a modern world. In a time of fast judgments and loud opinions, compassion can feel rare, but it begins in small moments, choosing to listen instead of debate, taking a deep breath before reacting, offering forgiveness, not because the other is right, but because you value peace, seeing a stranger not as other, but as kin, traveling through the same mystery. Even in disagreement, compassion says, you too are suffering in some way. You too want to be safe, seen, and loved. Thich Nhat Hanh once said, when you begin to see that your enemy is suffering, that is the beginning of insight. Practicing compassion daily. Begin your day with a loving kindness meditation, offering peace first to yourself, then to others. When frustrated, ask, what might this person be carrying? Practice gentle speech. Speak as if your words could either heal or harm. Serve someone quietly, no reward, no recognition. Closing reflection. Compassion is not something we have, it is something we become. It is not a skill to master, but a posture to embody. In a world that urges us to harden, to compete, to shield ourselves, Compassion is the ancient rebellion that heals. When we walk with compassion, we become a sanctuary not just for others, but for ourselves. Simplicity, the liberation of the soul. In a time of abundance, simplicity is often misunderstood. It is not deprivation nor denial. It is clarity. It is freedom from excess, not only in possessions, but in thoughts, obligations, and expectations. Eastern wisdom has long praised the virtue of the simple life. The Tao Te Ching opens with a paradox. To gain knowledge, add things every day. To gain wisdom, remove things every day. Simplicity is not the absence of richness, it is the presence of space. When life is cluttered, the soul cannot breathe. When the mind is overwhelmed, insight cannot arise. And when our days are packed with noise and urgency, we forget what matters most, why simplicity matters. In Zen tradition, a monk's room is spare, a bowl, a mat, a robe. Not because poverty is holy, but because space is sacred. Within simplicity, the mind settles, the heart expands. Simplicity also teaches us gratitude. When we are not numbed by excess, we awaken to beauty in what is small, a warm cup of tea, a single kind word, the quiet company of a tree. In Vietnamese, Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh's life simplicity was a foundation of his mindfulness. Walking slowly, eating in silence, washing dishes as if cradling a baby Buddha. Every act, when uncluttered by rush, becomes a meditation, the modern burden of excess. Today we are drowning in options. Too many choices, too much information, too many things to buy, to do, to achieve. And in this flood, we lose our direction. Eastern teachings invite us to ask, what is essential? What brings real joy? What can I release so that I may breathe again? To live simply is to live intentionally. It is to stop chasing and start choosing. Practicing simplicity in daily life. Declutter your space. Let go of what you do not use, need, or love. Simplify your schedule. Leave time for nothingness. Stillness is not wasted. It is restorative. Limit inputs. Choose one book instead of 5. One conversation instead of 10. Comment threads. Eat with presence. Not in front of a screen, but with full attention. Buy less, appreciate more. Before acquiring, ask, do I need this, or am I filling a hole? The deeper gift of simplicity. In simplicity, we find spaciousness. In spaciousness, we find clarity. In clarity, we rediscover peace. Simplicity does not make life smaller. It makes room for what truly matters to grow. The lotus blooms not in complexity, but in still water. The most nourishing bowl is one not overfilled, and the soul too flourishes when it is unburdened. Closing reflection. The world will always tempt us with more things, more speed, more noise. But peace waits in the quiet corners, in the cleared shelf, in the silent walk, in the moment you say, this is enough. As Confucius once said, life is really simple, but we insist on making it complicated. To simplify is to return. To return is to remember. To remember is to be free. And in that freedom, the soul breathes again. Integration, living the wisdom. Learning is not complete until it becomes a way of living. The wisdom of letting go. Stillness, nature, compassion, and simplicity. These are not just concepts to be admired, but daily seeds to be planted, watered, and cultivated. The East teaches not merely philosophy, but embodiment. A truth is only real when it is lived. So how do we integrate these teachings into our everyday lives, especially amidst the modern world's chaos? We begin not by adding more tasks, but by bringing more presence. 1. Make space for ritual, not just routine. Instead of rushing through the morning, rise with awareness, light a candle, pour tea slowly. Sit in silence for even a moment. Ritual brings the sacred into the ordinary too. Choose depth over breadth. Read one meaningful page, but read it deeply. Have one true conversation, not 10 shallow exchanges. Go for one mindful walk instead of a rushed gym session. The soul seeks depth, not volume. 3. Protect time for solitude. Solitude is not loneliness. It is sacred company with your own soul. Create small sanctuaries of solitude, a quiet corner, a silent pause between meetings, a tech-free hour before sleep 4. Return to breath throughout the day. The breath is the bridge between body and mind, at red lights during transitions. Before meals, return to one conscious breath. It resets your nervous system and reconnects you to the present 5. Serve without expectation. Every act of kindness waters the garden of the world. A sincere compliment, an anonymous gift, a gentle touch. Each becomes an offering that returns to you tenfold in peace. Revisit the teachings regularly. Wisdom fades when left on the shelf. Reread. Reflect, journal. Share. Let these ideas become companions. You walk with through the seasons, living as a silent teacher. Perhaps the greatest integration of Eastern wisdom is to become it not through preaching, but through presence. Be the calm in the storm, the one who listens when others argue, the one who acts gently when others rush, the one who remembers what matters. Your life becomes a lantern, and even without words, others may find their way. Final blessing. May your life be spacious, may your days be rooted, may your presence be healing, and may peace walk beside you quietly, always. If this journey has touched something within you, a longing for stillness, a desire to return to peace, then let's walk this path together. If you found value in these timeless teachings from the East, please like this video to help more people find moments of clarity. Share it with those you care about, so they too may reconnect with what truly matters. And subscribe to our channel for more reflections on mindfulness, simplicity, and the wisdom of ancient ways. Let us build a gentle community, rooted in kindness and guided by the deeper rhythms of life. Thank you for being here.